Have you ever felt like you're gripping life too tightly? Like the more you try to control it, the more it slips away. You push, you chase, you try to make things happen faster, you hustle harder, you try to fix people, you try to fix situations, but nothing seems to move. The job doesn't come, the relationship doesn't last, the peace doesn't stay. And deep down, there's this quiet kind of exhaustion, like you're swimming against a current that was never meant to be conquered. You start wondering, is it me? Am I the problem? Maybe I just need to push harder. But what if I told you that mindset is the trap? The Stoics warned us centuries ago, the more you desire to control things outside your power, the more you lose control over yourself. And the dark side of human psychology proves it. The more we try to dominate the external world, the more we become slaves to our own emotions, fears, and false expectations. So today, I'm going to challenge everything you've been taught about control, ambition, and success. I'm going to show you how to stop forcing, and instead, how to become so grounded, so unshakable, that life begins to move around you. This is Stoic Wind, where ancient philosophy meets ruthless clarity. And if you're ready to master this silent power, I want you to do one thing right now. Drop this in the comments. Power flows through stillness. Now let's begin. One of the most dangerous lies we're taught is that if we just try hard enough, we can control everything. That success, love, peace, all of it is just a matter of pushing harder. But that's not power, that's panic in disguise. The truth is, most people are addicted to control, not because they're strong, but because they're scared. Scared of uncertainty, scared of failure, scared of surrendering to anything they can't predict or manipulate. But the Stoics had a word for this obsession. They called it madness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Trying to control everything is like trying to hold water in your fist. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. That relationship you keep chasing, the more you cling, the more it runs. That opportunity you keep obsessing over, the more desperate you look, the less power you hold. Here's the dark psychology behind it. People can smell force. They can sense when you're trying to manipulate or control an outcome, and it makes them resist, not consciously, but instinctively. You lose influence the moment you try to force it. So what's the Stoic response? Radical acceptance, not weakness, not laziness, but clarity. The ability to see what's within your control and what's not, and to let go of everything that doesn't belong to you. If that resonates with you, take a second and drop this in the comments. Power flows through stillness. I'll say it again. You don't need to control everything. You just need to control yourself. Desperation is silent. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it looks like being too available. Sometimes it looks like chasing things that aren't meant for you. It disguises itself as effort, ambition, even love. But underneath it all, there's one cold truth. Desperation is the enemy of power. You see, power doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it doesn't knock twice. But desperation does. And when you move from a place of desperation, the world doesn't see your courage, it sees your fear. It senses your lack. It registers that you're trying to fill a void, and that void becomes your identity. The Stoics would say, if you need it, you've already lost. Epictetus taught that if your peace depends on anything outside of your control, then you've surrendered your freedom. And what is desperation, if not the loudest cry of someone who's already surrendered their power? Think about it. How many times have you texted someone twice when they didn't reply the first time? How many times have you stayed in a situation, a job, a friendship, a relationship, Not because it gave you peace, but because you were afraid of what would happen if you walked away. That's not strength, that's survival mode. And the worst part? Desperation attracts manipulation. Dark psychology makes it clear. The more desperate you are, the easier you are to control. People who can't stand to be alone will tolerate disrespect. People who fear rejection will settle for crumbs. People who are desperate for success will ignore their values just to feel important for 5 minutes. It's not because you're weak, it's because desperation turns you into a version of yourself that you don't even recognize. You become reactive, emotional, unbalanced. You try to force everything because you're afraid of losing anything. But here's the truth. You can't lose what was never meant for you. And if it costs you your dignity, your peace, your inner stillness, it's too expensive. Now listen carefully. The moment you stop needing things, people start needing you. The moment you detach from outcomes, they begin to chase you. That's not just Stoic theory. That's human nature. People are drawn to groundedness, to stillness, to those who do not beg for validation, but create it within themselves. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." The man understood something we've forgotten, that true power isn't loud. It's not desperate. It's quiet. It's calm. It's unbothered. So if you feel desperate right now, don't run from it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? And then go even deeper. Why do I believe I need that thing to be okay? Because most of the time we're not chasing the thing. We're chasing the feeling we believe it will give us. But here's the hard truth. No person, no job, no outcome will ever give you what inner stillness can. Everything else is temporary. Stillness, that's permanent. That's yours. If this is hitting something inside you, pause right now and comment the phrase again. Power flows through stillness. Let it be your reminder when desperation starts whispering lies in your ear. Desperation is the enemy. Let go. Let it pass. And watch how your power begins to return. We live in a world that worships movement, hustle, noise, constant stimulation. If you're not grinding 24/7, people assume you're falling behind. But the Stoics saw through this illusion centuries ago. They knew something most people still don't understand. Stillness is not weakness, it's strategy. In war, the most dangerous soldier is the one who waits, who watches, who lets the enemy make the first mistake. That's stillness. In life, the person who can remain calm while everyone else is panicking, that's the person who wins. Stillness is what separates those who react emotionally from those who respond with wisdom. It's what lets you think clearly when others are drowning in noise. It's what allows you to see through manipulation, resist provocation, and make decisions from a place of grounded control, not emotional chaos. Now, let's be real. Being still isn't easy. It's not about doing nothing. It's about doing only what matters, and refusing to be pulled into every drama, every distraction, every urge to prove yourself. The weak are loud. The wise are quiet. When Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "If you are disturbed by external things, it is not they that trouble you, but your own judgment of them," he wasn't promoting passivity. He was promoting mental control, a refusal to let the outside world dictate your inner world. In dark psychology, this is the foundation of dominance. Whoever controls their emotions in a negotiation, in a conflict, in a relationship, controls the outcome. People think power comes from action, but real power comes from restraint, from waiting, from watching, from being so confident in yourself that you don't need to chase anything. That's why stillness is feared, because a still person can't be manipulated. They don't react on impulse. They don't give their energy to chaos. They pause, they assess, and when they move, they strike with precision. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their emotional storm, stay still. The next time life doesn't go the way you expected, stay still. The next time your ego tells you to react, to chase, to prove, stay still. Because stillness is where your mind becomes sharp, your vision clears, your power gathers. It's lent it once more, if you're walking this path with us. Power flows through stillness. You're not weak for pausing. You're not falling behind for waiting. You're not surrendering. You're sharpening your blade in silence. You want to know the paradox that most people never figure out? The less you need something, the more it comes to you. This isn't magic. It's not spiritual fluff. It's behavioral reality. In Stoicism and in dark psychology alike, one truth echoes again and again. The more detached you are from the outcome, the more power you have over it. Think about it. Who do people chase? The one who's indifferent. Who keeps their value whether you stay or leave? You become a force people can't ignore. Not because you're loud, but because you're unfazed. Look around. Most people do the opposite. They cling. They obsess. They emotionally invest in outcomes they can't control. They overthink, overgive, and over-explain. They act from fear of loss, not from strength of presence. And what does that do? It repels the very things they want. In relationships, it leads to neediness. In business, it leads to desperation. In life, it leads to burnout. And no one wants to be around someone who reeks of insecurity. The Stoics had no time for this. They believed in showing up fully, but never being owned by the result. Epictetus said, "Attach yourself to what is spiritually superior, regardless of what other people think or do. Hold to your true aspirations, no matter what is going on around you." That's detachment, not coldness, not avoidance, but unshakable identity. And here's the twist. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You can love someone without begging. You can pursue your goals without obsessing. You can engage fully while still being ready to walk away if it costs your peace. Dark psychology supports this too. Studies show that emotional independence is perceived as power. Why? Because people want to be near those who don't need them, but choose them. That choice creates desire. That detachment builds respect. And when you live like that, from a place of inner fullness, everything starts to move toward you. Opportunities, respect, peace. It all comes when you stop chasing. You want to become magnetic? Let go of what you think you need. Be the one who walks away with calm in your chest and silence on your tongue. Call this right now if you're ready to attract instead of chase. Power flows through stillness. The most attractive energy in the world is stillness wrapped in certainty. You don't need to force anything. What's yours is already moving toward you, if you have the discipline to stop running after it. Look at nature. Really look. The sun never hurries, yet it always rises. Rivers don't force their flow, yet they carve through mountains. Trees don't beg to grow. They simply rise, slowly, in silence, toward the light. No rush, no panic, no desperation. Yet everything gets done. The ancient Stoics observed this. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor surrounded by chaos, war, and death, wrote in his private meditations, "No man is tired of receiving what is good, but it is impossible to arrive at the good without patience. That patience, that trust in nature's pace, is a form of deep, unshakable power." But we live in a culture that glorifies speed. Rush to success. Rush into relationships. Rush to prove you matter. And in that rushing, we destroy ourselves. We burn out. We make desperate decisions. We trade long-term peace for short-term relief. And the irony? We never arrive. That's because speed without direction is chaos. And rushing is often a symptom of fear. Fear that you're falling behind. Fear that you'll miss your chance. Fear that you're not enough unless you're constantly moving. But nature shows us the opposite. The Stoic lives in rhythm with the world, not in resistance to it. Stillness is not passivity, it's alignment. The right things unfold when you stop fighting their timing. Dark psychology tells us this too. Manipulators exploit urgency. They pressure you to act fast, to decide now, to skip your intuition and your logic. But when you move slowly, deliberately, you become unbreakable because no one can rush a grounded mind. So here's the shift. You stop trying to force your timeline and you start trusting your inner rhythm. You stop thinking you're late and start realizing you're exactly where you need to be, because you're becoming the kind of person who's ready when the opportunity comes, not the kind of person who begs for it. You don't need to catch up. You need to slow down and level up. And if you feel like you've been racing against time, chasing after results, I want you to pause right now and write this in the comments. Power flows through stillness. Write it to remind yourself that you are no longer at war with time. You are aligned with it, and neither should you, because real growth isn't loud or chaotic. It's quiet, gradual, unstoppable. Most people ruin their lives not by what they say yes to, but by what they're too afraid to say no to. They say yes to toxic people, yes to overcommitment, yes to emotional manipulation, yes to explain, to fix, to please, all because they fear what happens if they disappoint others. But here's the truth. If your peace costs someone else their comfort, so be it. Because saying no isn't rejection, it's protection. It's the moment you choose your sanity over someone else's expectations. The Stoics were ruthless with this. They didn't chase approval. They didn't explain their every move. They focused on one thing, living in alignment with virtue and reason. If it wasn't aligned, it didn't get in. Period. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter." He didn't waste time defending his choices to people who weren't living his life. And neither should you. Because every time you say yes to something misaligned, you say no to yourself, and that slowly destroys your identity. You become scattered, resentful, drained. You try to force peace into situations that are meant to be left behind. That's where dark psychology enters the picture. Manipulators love people who can't say no. Why? Because boundaries make you unpredictable, and unpredictability makes you powerful. The person who can say no without guilt, who can walk away without emotion, becomes unshakable. No is a wall, and walls protect empires. Why is it so hard to say no? Because you've been trained to believe that your worth comes from your availability, that if you say no, you'll be rejected. But let me flip that for you. People respect what you respect. When you honor your time, your values, and your space, the world takes note. The more you respect your energy, the less you'll have to explain your decisions. Let that sink in. Loyalty is your skin. We don't force. We don't beg. We don't say yes to noise. We protect our inner stillness at all costs. And if you're reclaiming that power right now, if you're ready to say no without apology, then write this in the comments. Power flows through stillness, because the quietest no is sometimes the loudest declaration of self-respect. You want to become truly untouchable? Then learn this. Stop giving people access to your emotions, because the more visible your feelings are, the easier you are to control. Emotional invisibility isn't about being numb. It's not about suppressing your truth. It's about power. The power to observe without reacting, to feel without broadcasting, to remain calm when others want chaos. The Stoics called this apatheia, a state of inner calm, not because nothing matters, but because you've mastered what does. You still feel everything. You just don't let it dominate you. You don't hand your peace over every time someone tests you. Marcus Aurelius said, "When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own feelings. Then you will forget your anger." That's power. That's self-containment. That's emotional invisibility. But here's what dark psychology teaches us. The world is full of emotional predators, people who poke, provoke, and manipulate, not because they're strong, but because they feed off reaction. They want you to lash out. They want you to explain. They want you to justify. Why? Because when you do, they win. You're no longer grounded. You're pulled into their frame. And once they control your frame, they control you. So what's the antidote? Silence, stillness, detachment. You stop broadcasting your frustration. You stop defending your every move. You let people misunderstand you. You let them think what they want, because your inner clarity doesn't need outside validation. Imagine this. Someone insults you. You don't flinch. Someone tests your patience. You don't budge. Someone tries to guilt trip you, trigger you, bait you, and all they get in return is your calm. That's not weakness. That's calculated dominance. That's emotional invisibility. And in that moment, they realize they can't touch you. It's not about being cold. It's about being controlled. You're not emotionally unavailable. So if you're done being emotionally hijacked by people who don't deserve access to your energy, write this down in the comments right now. Power flows through stillness. This is your edge in a world that wants to see you crack. They can't break what they can't read. Most people spend their entire lives chasing. They chase people, chase validation, chase success. But the more they chase, the more everything runs away from them. The Stoics knew this trap. They didn't run after life, they aligned with it. Marcus Aurelius didn't beg the world to obey his will. He wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." That wasn't surrender, it was strategy. Because when you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you're still, centered, and focused on becoming instead of begging, convincing, or proving, life starts to move toward you. The right people notice. The right moments find you. Not because you're forcing, but because you've become ready. This doesn't mean you don't act. It means you act from clarity, not fear. From strength, not urgency. You move when it's time, and you stay still when it's not. Dark psychology confirms it. The person who waits holds the most leverage. The one who's not desperate has the most influence. Why? Because power flows to those who already believe they have it. Choose yourself first, and let life rise to meet your standard. If this message speaks to you, type it in the comments one last time. Power flows through stillness, because the more you try to force life, the more resistance you meet. But the moment you trust your pace, everything aligns. Let life come to you. Here's the truth most people avoid their whole lives. You don't need to force what's real. You don't need to beg for what's meant for you. You don't need to prove your worth to a world that's too distracted to see it. Your peace, your power, your clarity. It all begins the moment you stop chasing and start becoming. You are not here to outrun life. You're here to align with it, to move with precision, to speak only when it's necessary, to walk away when it's time, to master your emotions so completely that nothing outside of you can touch the storm within. This is the Stoic path. This is what it means to be unshakable. If you felt this message, if even one part of your soul resonated, then I ask you to do two things. First, comment one final time. Power flows through stillness. Let it be your anchor. Let it be your declaration. Like this video. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because here at Stoic Wind, we're building a movement of thinkers, warriors, and silent masters, people who don't just survive the chaos, they command it with calm. You've made it this far, and that says something about you. You're not ordinary. You're not asleep. You're ready for something deeper. And we'll be right here with you, every step of the way. Until next time, stay still, stay sharp, stay sovereign.